Councilman Phillips.
Here.
Councilman Casella.
Here.
Supervisor Thurston.
Here. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the minutes of the previous meeting?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. I'd like to just make a few comments tonight. Welcome everybody to our meeting. And I just want to note that with respect to COVID issue in the county, and we now have reported 516 active cases. This is as of 5/8 data. Town has 40 active cases. There's 20 hospitalizations, 442 deaths, and the positive 7-day rate is 1.89%. Good news also is on vaccinations, 49.81% of the population has at least one vaccine dose, and 59.6% of the 16-plus population. Completed vaccine series, we're looking at around 40% of the population in the county, and approximately almost 50% of the 16-plus. There is a lot of information out there on the Dutchess County dashboard and also the New York Forward Regional dashboard. The vaccine updates are also found on the DutchessCounty.gov COVID vaccine, or residents can also call 845-486-3555 to be booked over the phone. So please, if you have any need for vaccination, please contact them. We also have some more community pop-ups in the county, which is Beekman Community is going to have one on May the 12th, and also Pauling. These, you have some walk-ins and also some ability to call ahead, so please do that. Check for more regular updates, and you can learn more on DutchessNY.gov and on /COVID vaccine. There's also going to be some mobile vaccination capabilities coming forward, and of course, go to the websites to look up for more information on the relaxation of the various protocols that are out there. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite Frederick up to talk about the financial summary for this past month.
While
Thanks.
Frederick is getting ready, if I can just comment on some things you said,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks.
So, in this town, we have really followed the science, not to sound cliche, but we have kept an eye on the COVID dashboard. We've kept an eye on the positivity rate. We have really taken this seriously, and at the same time balanced open government to the point where we have been able to provide constituent services, and at the same time, when the time was right, be able to open the town hall to allow for maximum open government opportunity. So we are finally in an area now where we are, I believe, just south of 2% positivity, which is significant, and we hope to see this trending downward as we head into the summer. However, I'm sure the supervisor will agree that we're monitoring it on a daily basis, and if we have an uptick, we're going to have to react appropriately as we had done previously. But at this point, I just want to say that I want to thank the supervisor for his leadership, forward-leaning leadership through this process, through this unprecedented pandemic, and let's hope that we are back for good now here at Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Frederick, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much for this opportunity to present an update on the town's financial condition. The last time I presented was April 12th, and this report is just an update of what's going on between that time and now. I'm hoping to present a major review of the financial condition at the half-year mark, that is from January to June, maybe in the month of July. So for this report, I'm happy to report that during the past month, the New York State reimbursed the town for the unemployment insurance payments that we made last year. We made a total of $21,114.27 for unemployment, and this was kind of a surprise that we got this back, the whole of it, in the past month. Another payment that we received from New York State is the so-called Countywide Shared Services Initiative disbursement. We received a total of $39,988.35. This is also something we were not expecting, but I'm more than happy to report that we have that in our books now. The other aspect of revenue that has been doing very well is the mortgage tax. We have shared with you this report from the beginning of the year up to now, and in the month of April, that there was actually a 29.8% increase in the mortgage tax from 106,000 in March to 138,000 in April. This brings the year-to-date mortgage tax receipts at 427,000 gross, which after taking care of the expenses would amount to 393,000. With an annual budget of about 450, we are at about 87% of our budget. If you remember last year, we also did pretty well with the mortgage tax, which was unexpected. Collections in the courts, fines and fees has also been going up. We started at a very minimal amount in January. In February, it went up to 34,000. And in the month of March, we got $40,000. Now, even though the court fines collection went up, because of the formula that the New York State uses, the revenue that was allocated to the town went down slightly from 20,000 in February to 15,000 in March. We have not received the returns for April yet. Hopefully it will be better than March, but you can see that the collections are actually going up, which is a good thing. So far year to date, we have received 42,000, and that we are averaging about 14,000 a month. Our annual budget is 232, which is still way up there, but we hope that these court fines and fees will be picking up, and we should be able to meet this budget by the end of the year. Another revenue item that has been doing very well is the building permits. We collected 31,000 in the month of April, even though March was much better, 37, but we are averaging $29,000 per month. And so far, January through April, we have received 116 from an annual budget of 320,000. So those are the main revenue items I wanted to highlight that I think the town is doing really well. And I'm also happy to report that last month, we were able to meet our objective by filing with the New York State the annual update document, which is a yearly requirement. All that now remains is for the auditors to come in and look at our records and give us an opinion as to whether our financial statements show a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the town. The other report that we need to file is called the Annual Disclosure Statement 2020. This, I'm made to understand, is due by end of this week. All that remains is some update that is required from various professionals as to where the town is in terms of legal matters. There's also the stimulus funds, which, as you know, the town and the village of Wapinja were allocated $2.93 million. The funds can only be used for certain purposes like investment in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, and pay for certain expenses that were incurred because of the pandemic. Half of this amount is supposed to be received by the end of June next month. And once we receive half of this 2.93 million, we'll share it with the village. And 1 year from the disbursement of the first phase, we'll receive the second and last disbursement. All these funds have to be spent by end of the year 2024. And there's a rider that if these funds are not used for the purposes that they're meant, they can be recouped. So that basically concludes my presentation of what I saw in the month of April in terms of our financial affairs. So if you have any questions at this time.
Do we have any parameters yet on what the American Rescue Plan funding can be spent on, the 2.93?
Mr. Haran was, doing some, investigation into
I mean, the legislation itself says it can be used for investments in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, also pay for eligible workers performing essential work during the pandemic. It could also be used to offset revenue that the town lost, so, as a result of COVID. So there's quite a few, areas where it can be spent. The one thing that I have not seen anything from the Controller's office is what fund the money is going to come into, because we're in town with a village, so, we've got the A fund and the B fund.
Should be a fund, right?
Theoretically.
Because is the village receiving funding also?
We have to divide, allocate some of that 2.93 to the village.
Right, so.
Okay, so then that's a good question then.
Right, and then the other issue too is, as I read as I understand the legislation, the town of Poughkeepsie is also going to have to give a certain
Right.
percentage of their revenue to the village as well.
I'm sure there's a formula to determine that.
That's
Not yet.
not yet. I mean, the
determine
problem
that.
is that you have to get down to the granular level of census block, because,
Okay.
I think there's 5 census blocks in the village that are in the town of Poughkeepsie, so, and the question remains, do we use the 2020 census or the 2010 census?
Well, I don't think we have the 2020 numbers yet, right?
Right,
That's the issue, and
so,
there's some speculation that that information will be withheld until after the distribution of funds.
right.
So, are there any stipulations relative to supplanting? I mean, a lot of times when I deal with federal money, you can't supplant it into a general budget. It would have to be separate and distinct and segregated.
I have not seen that because, one of the things that you're allowed to do is to use it for purposes of, offsetting revenue losses.
Okay, all right, okay, so
So
then you
to
can,
the extent,
okay.
it looks like, it's not, right now, the way it's drafted, you can use it for salaries. It's not limited to capital expenses. Typically, when you get federal monies related to capital expenses, you're going to have to account for that separately, and, we've done that in the community development block grants, and,
Right.
EFC funding and things like that, where they have to be separately accounted for. Right now, I haven't seen any guidance that indicates that, it has to be separately accounted for, but, there has to be at least some explanation as to how it was spent. But, it's not limited to just capital projects, so.
All right, well, I'd hope by June 30th, we'd have a determination on how much funding the town and the village would
Right.
get.
And again, that 2.93 is split over 2 years.
Right.
Half in 2021 and the second half in 2022.
Okay, and now, is this going to be a subject at a future workshop meeting, discussion? or-
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we plan to.
all right, thank you.
So basically, even if it comes into the A fund, so long as it's spent under the parameters given, it doesn't get the A fund limit, you know, there's limitations on A fund expenditures. So long as we spend it as it says here, then we're okay.
Well, I mean, that's it, our water and sewer infrastructure are in special districts.
Right.
So they're not, that's one of the things where, you know, most government entities don't have,
Right.
don't necessarily, you know, in other states, they don't typically have special, they're called special purpose governmental units.
They're restricted.
So,
Right.
right, you know, so same issue would be, you know, school districts.
Right.
You know, I mean, school districts, you know, many other states have school districts, but, you know, for example, the cities, you know, there's no restriction in the city or in the village.
Right, right.
Because, you know, they don't have special districts. Special districts are only a creature of towns.
So really, the state controller's office probably should code this specifically,
Yes.
because if you're gonna be using this for water or sewer, and you have to provide for a percentage to the village that's inside your town, it would seem to me they should develop the formula.
And they're the ones under the legislation, so, because the so-called community development block grant entitled communities get the funding directly. So that would be cities and the county in Dutchess. So
Right.
Beacon and Poughkeepsie get their money directly, as does the county. The money to the towns and the villages goes through New York State. So
Okay.
the expectation is the controller's office
Yeah.
will come up with, and also the Department of Treasury is supposed to come out, Federal Department of Treasury is also supposed to come out with, you know, other regulations with respect to this.
Thank you.
So Frederick, just a couple of questions. So on the mortgage tax, right, we're averaging $130-something thousand a month, but prior to that, we were doing about $90,000 going back into 2020. If we continued at that current rate, we would be adding roughly another $360,000 on top of the $393, so we would be significantly over the budget, somewhere in the neighborhood of over $300,000.
Yeah, because
That's
it's
a pretty good news story there.
Yeah,
And then from a court fees, it looks like, you know, we're gonna be a little bit short at $14,000 per month. Be about $168,000 if you did it on a full year basis, so about $64,000 short. And then from building permits, looks like we're averaging probably around the $29,000-$30,000 range. So if we did that, we're still close to hitting the annual budget, about $320,000. So I think those are in pretty good shape there. So for the $21,000 for the unemployment and the $39,000 for the countywide, were they expected as far as the budget goes, or are they kind of, I'll call it a bluebird?
we did not expect both. So it's like income that we didn't really budget for. So,
Okay.
I mean, 60,000, it's good money that we didn't budget for. So I think that's for our own good.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No. Okay, thank you, Frederick.
Thank you, Frederick.
Thank you, Freddie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frederick.
Next item is to open the public portion of the meeting to comments only on the agenda. Do I have a motion to open?
I'll make the motion to open.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. If there's any comments on any agenda item, you know, tonight, please come up and identify yourself, the agenda topic, and your residence within the town.
Hello, Ben Allison, 73 Losi Road. I was just wondering, are we going to get a copy of this new proposed local law, or is it going to be discussed, or is it just an introduction for next time?
Which proposed local law is that?
Town of Wappinger Cross Connection Control Law?
It's up on the, Joe, is it on the website?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Oh, okay. Was that put on today, or
It was
was there before? Okay,
last Thursday. Yep.
all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Have a motion to close?
Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Public portion.
Huh?
Public portion.
Yeah.
Public portion, sorry.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. You know, the next item on the agenda is the annual review that Walter Artis provides to us. You know, Walter, please come up.
Thank you. I requested to be on tonight's town board agenda to inform the town board that this year's stormwater management program annual report for the reporting period March 10th, 2020 to March 9th, 2021 is complete. It's required to be submitted to the DEC by June 1st. And I'd also like to request the board authorize the supervisor to endorse the annual report. We're still operating under the 2015 permit. They've yet to issue their 2020 permit, so we have no idea when we're going to see that. As far as the COVID impact on this reporting period, it really impacted the public participation and public involvement portion of the permit, and that's across the board with all MS4s. So our numbers are down a little bit there. It's not unexpected. We're starting to gear up again with the MS4 committee to get a billboard campaign going again, and just get back in the loop with the public education component. My primary focus for this reporting period is to get together with the superintendent of highways, and just, get things together with that. Tom and I have had some conferences with him, and we just make sure he has all the tools to be in compliance with everything. So we're in good shape, but
Any indication of whether or when there might be an audit?
no, I have heard of no audits.
When was the last audit? Yeah.
The last audit we had was 2012. The last audit I had, I think, was 2016 or 2017. So it's been a few years, at least in Dutchess. I don't know anybody else in Dutchess that's been audited since 2017 or 18. You were, right? And
I'm
you-
not, I can't tell you for sure which year here was the last audit.
Not here, right. but,
Yes.
You know,
Is there a public hearing required this year? I thought that wasn't waived this year.
no, it's just a public meeting. It's not a public
Okay, so
hearing.
that's today.
Right. Now, last year, what the DEC did is they waived the requirement to hold a public meeting. They waived the requirement for the original signature on the annual report, and then they waived the requirement of sending in hard copies to the department. This year, I did receive an email forwarded to me by Supervisor Thurston, where the department is now requesting, in this case it would be the supervisor, would provide an e-signature. And so we'll see how that works out. We'll might have to get Tom's assistance to get back into the report, so I can then send a PDF to DEC, so.
Let me ask you a question, Walter. When we have a major roadway rehabilitation going on in our town,
Right.
Right now, Old Hopewell Road, previously Myers Corners Road, how does that affect our report or oversight relative to stormwater management? Is that something the county would handle on County Road, or is that something that we provide oversight to?
That's something the county handles.
Okay.
I mean, it's really under their
Okay,
jurisdiction.
got
They're
it.
their own MS4.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yeah, and they're called a non-traditional MS4.
Okay, I
And
forgot
the fact
that.
that they don't have, they pretty much have to do a lot of what we do, other than, they don't have any ordinances, they don't enforce anything.
So is Brian Squirrelick involved with that, or how does that work?
No, no, it would
It's a
be
separate entity?
DPW.
Oh, DPW does,
Yes.
okay. All right, yeah, I was just
So they
curious.
keep us advised, Commissioner Balkine advises us regularly of what they're doing as to, the MS4 impacted areas.
Right, and they do have a representative that comes to our MS4 meetings
Okay.
as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, we thought the last one was significant. This is a major project with elevation changes and, turnpike rules in effect, right, Jim? It's 100 and some odd feet,
It's making it a little crazy getting around to do the site inspections and.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm glad that we're,
And that's
Taking a
being-
lot of alternate
And that's being
routes.
kind.
Well, and it's been delayed, complicated, because they misunderstood or, what the roadbed consists of. What turned out,
Yeah.
once they started the construction on the east side
Yeah.
of All Angels and doing some of the other lateral their work, they discovered that the roadbed was not stone, but it was clay.
Yeah.
And significant red clay, and that caused, during wet conditions, problems. So they had to revamp their whole construction plan.
it's never good when you're driving down Old Hopewell Road and there's car parts in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That generally means there's a little bit of a bump there.
Yeah. So they had to go resurvey, I think. I'm not sure if they're completed the survey, but there will be a major disruption shortly once they start going down the west side of Old Hopewell, which will take, a lot of traffic and run it back through actually Rockingham and those areas, So that's going to be a significant disruption to the normal practices going forward
One
for a
compo-
short period.
One component of this year's report that is up is actually construction activities. It's been very active, so.
And they've, been very careful to try to minimize the disruption to the town's wetlands
Yeah.
on, that, south, east, corner.
Right.
So they've, taken a lot of precautions to ensure that the habitat there is protected, and I think also under state, supervision, DEC and so forth have been
Correct.
involved, right, Walter? And
That's
Walter's
correct,
been
yes.
involved with it.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up. I mean, it's a significant project. I'm glad to hear that the county and the town are working cooperatively through the MS4 requirements. And again, Walter, I appreciate all your work year after year that you do. We're lucky to have you on board. And for folks that don't know what we're talking about, MS4 has to do with stormwater management, and we have to meet strict guidelines here. And our consultant, Walter, who's presenting to us right now, ensures that we meet those requirements and guidelines under DEC and all the other regulations. So thank you, Walter, for your hard work, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Walter, for everything that you do. Seriously, thank you.
And thanks to Rena as well.
Yeah, how's she doing, all right?
She's doing great.
Good.
She's doing good.
Good.
She's doing good.
So I got my German Shepherd's the same age as yours, so
Right.
I'm always watching you
She's going to
closely.
be 8 years old
Yeah.
later this week, so time flies.
Sure it does.
So we'll get in touch as far as
Yeah.
getting these signatures.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda will be our Highway Superintendent, Mike Sheehan, talking about his, request for highway vehicles.
Thank you, Regina, for doing that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, Mike.
Hello. So as you know, we got a few pickups. We got 3 pickups that are at end of life. One is done, sits up in the yard. And then we got 7 and 8 that are end of life. They're utility body pickups. They're 2007s. They're rotten. Everything's rotten on them. Floors, gas tanks, which you all got the memo on it. And we also need a 1-ton dump truck. That's, the one we have now is 22, it's a 2003. It's got over 125 town miles on it, and it's, it's been overworked, and it's at end of its life. So, we got 3 pickups, I'm only asking for 2 pickups, 7 and 8, and a small 1-ton dump. And they're all state bids. The small dump with a plow is estimated at $60,000. The cost of one pickup service truck with a plow is estimated at $55,000. The cost of one pickup truck, service truck, without a plow is estimated at $50,000, so the total is $165,000.
Jim, we had bonded for the last trucks. Can we amend that to add this to that, or would it be a separate?
The process is the same, so it's just as easy to issue a new bonding resolution.
Yeah, but I mean, from a financial standpoint, though, financing standpoint, does it make more sense to use the fund balance?
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
ask.
that was my
I mean,
next
that's the other option.
Part of my concern is that, and Mike needs these trucks now, and needed them, is that, bonding and going through that whole process is going to be some significant delay. We're seeing major supply chain interruptions that are getting worse each day, and that's
agree.
materials and equipment and parts, so I imagine Mike still needs a fair amount of lead time. So one option, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is that actually right now we could approve it from the fund balance, which is quite strong.
So
And then if we wanted to put it into or build it in a bond perhaps later on, can we do that? But at least
That
right now,
would-
we have sufficient fund balance to
So
cover
it
this.
would come from DB. Highway trucks are purchased out of DB fund. If there's fund balance available, it makes sense to do it. The reasons that you mentioned in the past, John DiMartino, I think, has gotten stuff from what the purchasing process now on state bid is, rather than have big lists, they do what's called a mini bid process. And they solicit, you basically put in the specifications that you want for a vehicle, and they'll circulate it to a number of vendors that are on the state bid list, and they'll come back to you. We've bought big and small trucks, you know, in recent years using that process. It's a fairly efficient process. For some reason, it always seems like everything comes out of Syracuse. But, so, that's the methodology that we've used in the past.
But we could do a resolution next time, right? Bond it for the 165,000, then combine the,
Well, that's if you're gonna purchase it, right
I don't know what the
straight.
delay, how much is the delay is there between paying cash for it versus bonding
Yeah, I'm
for it?
not too
Because
sure, Al.
it's probably not that big of a difference. So my point is that capital being 2%, right, interest rates, why not take advantage of the rates? So what you can do is for the $750,000 you did for the trucks before, combine the two bonds together, you go with one bond, you save some charges on that, correct?
Well, what you would do, Frederick notes it in his report, about, the bond issuances that we were looking at, doing in the short term. So what you would do is just add to that. Typically, what we would do is we would do that as one bond issuance.
That's my point, so you combine everything, you do
right.
one bond, and it should save you hopefully on some costs, because you're gonna combine everything together.
Right.
But it won't
Save
cause
some
a
money.
holdup.
What's that?
It won't cause a holdup, because this
No,
needs to be done
we're looking at doing this
very
in July.
quickly.
So again, the other issue too is there's ample fund balance available. So if you adopt a bond resolution at the next meeting, you can certainly move forward with the purchase. State bid does not require competitive bidding. So, you could put in the order, and move forward. Between now and the next time, if you decide you don't want to do a bond resolution.
So you could
just
pay it
use
cash and then replenish the DB fund for the 165 when you do the bond.
That's what we
assuming
did
you-
with the ESB, Emergency Services
Okay.
Building.
Right, but I mean, how much is in DB right now, Frederick? There's a lot of money in there.
So
Yeah.
two.
Remember, we received about $500,000 growth, in sales tax growth,
Yeah,
500,000.
so the DB is pretty good right now.
yeah, either way, it doesn't matter to me. Money is cheaper than ever, so if it's gonna make more sense to bond it, that's fine, but if we have cash on hand, that's another point.
Yeah, and
Point is-
I'm most worried about the safety, the
That's
vehicles.
what
and-
I'm worried about. The
and,
quickest
you know,
way we
trying
can
to
do it
it, you
would be
know,
the
we
best
got that
way.
500,000 benefit that we didn't expect.
Right.
And so this is $165,000.
So, Mike, have you been in contact with a dealer yet to find out a timeline on these?
No, I haven't really talked to John about that.
Yeah, 'cause we gotta roll
I mean,
on this.
they're aware of
I
it,
agree.
though. It was brought to their attention
was?
a while back, so I'm sure the ball can roll.
Okay,
I'm
because
sure
whatever
he's
we
watching
need to
right
do
now,
to expedite this, because,
Supply is gonna be a
I
problem.
mean, getting vehicles, I know for a fact, I deal with this during the daytime, getting vehicles right now is a real challenge.
Exactly.
And we know Steve tried to get some trucks too, and it's taken a long time to get his trucks too. And we put it in, what, 6 months
gonna be a
ago, your
while.
order? So it's been a while.
So the
What do we have
quickest
to
way
do
we
to
could
tell
do
them
it.
to go forward with the purchase and figure out the bonding? and-
Well, I think at this point in time, what we'll do is I'll ask Doug Goodfriend to draft a bond resolution for the next meeting, and, if we get, just have John get over to our
will
office
do.
the information, we'll draft, the resolutions, and, we can move forward, so.
Good.
But the bond resolution still is going to require a public hearing and go through that whole process, right?
Well, it's just
May
that-
not be till July.
It'll be, well, the bond,
Yeah,
The-
the issuance,
right, the bond resolution would be adopted
right.
at next meeting.
Meeting,
Right.
right.
Then you have you've got a permissive referendum and an
Right.
estoppel period, so, so that might take a while.
Yeah, so
But-
I don't want to delay anything. If we need to, look at financing a different way at a later time, I would say right
I
now,
agree.
we should authorize the highway superintendent to move forward on these 3 items that he's specified.
I agree.
And then have a resolution at the next meeting for financing purposes. But I think that he needs to be authorized right now to
I
move forward.
agree.
Thank you.
I agree.
Because who knows what's going to happen by the next meeting
Right.
with these things. So
Yeah, well, in fact, they're predicting that automobiles and trucks, especially trucks.
Right.
May not, be in the supply chain much longer.
Exactly.
So normally, I wouldn't do this off the floor, but if the board allows, I'll move to authorize the highway superintendent to start the process on these 3 vehicles that he specified.
I'll second that. I agree.
Jim, it's a question is, in the past, when some of these have been discussed, the board could also indicate the possible intention to bond pay the cash up front. We did that
They just-
emergency
I mean, we
services
just- right,
building,
we
so
just-
that resolution,
right.
Bill's resolution could be amended to put an intention about that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That gives
again,
us
the other,
flexibility.
the other issue too is, to Bill's point, I mean, the 100 and, what is it, 165?
65.
I mean, for 165,000, as the supervisor mentioned, the typical bond process is you would adopt a bond resolution, there's a 30-day permissive referendum period, because the life is over 5 years, and then there's typically a 30-day estoppel period, which would put you out, sometime after July. So, I think the one issue may be, what the time frame is. Again, you're not gonna have, we don't pay until the item is delivered.
Correct.
So to the extent that you if it's a 6-month delivery, you can adopt a bond resolution, but, that's the first step would be to figure out, again, to get the financing in place,
So
But
your
he's
point
gonna
is, as
need to
long,
have some deposit down payment,
No.
to secure it, right?
not on state contract.
A non-state contract? Oh, okay.
so your point being, we could finance it through bonds, not have an issue, because it's gonna probably take 4 to 6 months
Yeah, I
before you
mean,
get the
but,
vehicle.
again, if-
So you don't have to pay cash, is my point.
I mean, again, if they can get us a truck in a month,
Right, then we,
you buy fund balance.
we pay upon arrival of the asset. So again,
Right.
I intentionally left the motion open-ended for financing purposes, and unless there's an objection, my motion will stand, and I believe there was a second also.
I
Yes.
second it.
Just go find them.
Yes. Yeah, right?
So there's motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you, Mike. Good luck.
Thank you all. Have a
Good luck.
night.
Thanks.
You got it.
Thanks, Mike.
Good luck.
The next item on the agenda is item number 2021-77. This is a proclamation of Taiwanese American Heritage Week. We have throughout the board meetings recognized different, groups, ethnic and many other, organizations. This one was requested by our Taiwanese American, residents, to consider a resolution looking at this as a Taiwanese American Heritage Week. This is for the period of May 10th through the May 14th. I won't read through the whole, resolution. It is in the packet, but the bottom line is talking about now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Wappinger does hereby recognize and proclaim May 10th, 2021 through May 14th, 2021 as Taiwanese American Heritage Week, encourages all citizens to recognize our Taiwanese heritage and the many contributions Taiwanese Americans have made to our country. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2021-78. This is a resolution authorizing the settlement of tax certiorari proceedings regarding 1554, 1564 Route 9 LLC. And Mr. Hand, would you summarize this to the board, please?
Sure, so the property that's the subject of this tax certiorari proceeding is office, retail buildings, it's in the village.
Should be the one with the dance.
It's the
The
one
old
with the
Estelle
dance.
Alfonso?
No, no,
building?
the,
The dance,
Fred
Fred
Astaire.
Astaire,
Fred
dance
Astaire, Fred
studio,
Astaire.
and then the building immediately behind
Right,
it. A new owner purchased them, I believe in 2018, and then did, some renovations to it. And there's 3 years here, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And, the resolutions on, there's 3 tax grid numbers here that are associated with it. And, the reduction in assessed value is from a low of 63,000 for one property to a high of 98,000 for another property. And the negotiation, in the agreement that was negotiated, the property owner waives a refund of the town portion and special district, or there are no special districts here, it's in the village, but any town, refund of town taxes. And so, you know, predominantly the refund would be on the county and school district side.
Yeah, I'll move it.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. The next item is Resolution 2021-79. This is a resolution introducing proposed local law entitled Town of Wappinger Cross Connection Control Law. This is basically for the purpose of scheduling a public hearing, correct, Mr. Hand? And you can discuss the proposal.
Yeah, so this is a local law that deals with the town of Wappinger water systems. It's on this evening to introduce the local law and schedule a public hearing. There is a cross-control provision that's currently in the town code at section 234-47, which basically just says that cross-connection controls are required. This law is a result of changes to the New York State Sanitary Code, which put in more specific requirements for the facilities that require cross-connections, cross-connection contamination protection, and then basically what this involves is putting in check valves and what's called an RPZ, which is a valve, a vacuum-type valve that prevents water, contaminated water from getting into the potable water pipes of the town system. And it's required for, various industrial uses and things of that nature. So it's, pretty technical in nature. It's been requested by the Dutchess County Department of Health. So we've been coordinating with them and, making them aware of our progress with respect to implementing this.
Any questions for Mr. Haran?
No?
Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
This is between systems, or is this,
So, for example, if you had, let's say, a building that had a well that was connected to the public water supply, and they had a well that they used for irrigation purposes.
okay.
Or, also here, the facilities are, that are included would be sewage and wastewater treatment plants, paper manufacturing plants, canneries, hospital and clinics, airports, metal plating facilities, commercial, things that would typically have, hazardous type chemicals. And what this is they would require, an additional valve to, in essence, protect the municipal water supply.
Now, is this something code enforcement would be responsible for?
Yes, so, and that's one of the things is that each year, as part, we would schedule this as part of the 1203s.
Okay.
We currently have a program in place that does it. This formalizes, some of the facilities that have done it, that need to have the restrictions in place. But we do it as part of the 1203, and, they have to, there's an inspection that done, they actually have to get someone to certify that it's working properly. So it's similar to the type of inspection that would be done for fire extinguishing systems in a restaurant or,
Right.
Things like that.
The only thing I would say is there's a typo in C, actually, correction, D. The Dutchess County Health Department is now known as the Dutchess County
Right.
Behavioral and Community Health Department.
Okay,
If we could just make sure that's
Sure.
consistent.
Okay, any further comments, questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll second it.
Joe, for the record, the date? June 7th. June 7th.
Yep.
Okay, there's motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstention? Seeing none, motion passed, thank you. Next item is Resolution 2021-80. This is the approval of the correspondence log.
Make a motion to
And I'll
approve.
second it.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Under, special consideration, I'd like to read the following, proclamation and get the board's approval to issue it. This is recognizing Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May the 2nd through May the 8th. Whereas the office of the town clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world and is among the oldest of public servants. And whereas the office of the town clerk provides the professional link between the residents, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the office of the town clerk serves the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas duly elected Wappinger Town Clerk Joseph P. Paoloni and his appointed deputies Cooper M. Leatherwood, Lauren T. Calmancy, and Grace M. Robinson selflessly serve the people of the town of Wappinger with the utmost distinction that is appreciated by both residents and officials. And whereas it is most appropriate that the town board of the town of Wappinger recognize the accomplishments of the office of the town clerk and all of their work to bettering the great town of Wappinger. And now, therefore, I, Richard L. Thurston, Supervisor, and council members of the town board of the town of Wappinger, New York, do hereby recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our town clerk, Joseph P. Paoloni, and to all municipal, clerks. So, Mr. Paoloni, would you come up and accept this? I know the week's a little bit in the past, but your service is never in the past, and we appreciate it very, very, very much.
Take a picture.
Jessica, do you have your camera? You can take a picture up here. Come on, sir. No, I'm not going to tell you.
I'll text it to you.
Thank you.
Chris, come on.
Come on, Chris. Okay, thank you. We're smiling.
2, 3. Joe, hold up here.
Hold it up.
This is my first picture with you guys.
One more.
Yes.
Thank you.
That one on your office.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you to your staff also for the hard work that they put in. Definitely does not go unnoticed. You guys are the face of the town, even though many times you text me and say that you don't want to be the face of the town sometimes. We've been through unprecedented times here, and often your department has had to take the heat sometimes due to our restrictions. And we greatly appreciate you weathering the storm. Thank you.
But especially during COVID,
Yeah.
I saw times, I don't have the pictures to show, but you were hanging out the window in your office, handing out permits. Yeah, I wouldn't let you use the hallways because of COVID protocol, but throughout, and also through other sacrifices of your staff that they made personally, throughout this period of time. So we really do greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
you. Thank you, Joe. Any other, comments or?
I always get
Discussion.
compliments on your team, always, from phone calls that people ask, for help, and your team is always there and very supportive, and thank you. So, good job.
Do we have any actions on the MS4, or is this something? that's-
Yeah, there is a, Jim, you had recommended a resolution on the MS4.
So it's just, it would just be authorization for the supervisor to sign the MS4 report for submission to DEC.
All right, so I'll move that the town board authorize the supervisor to sign the MS4 report to be submitted to the DEC.
I'll second it.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. One other bit of information is our first annual Spring Craft Fair at Wappinger Town Hall will be taking place on Saturday, May the 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is being hosted by our Recreation Department and runs the same day as also a crafts fair over at First Presbyterian. We're doing this kind of jointly. Ours will be, again, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also, today on our call with the county executive, Mr. Beal and I participated in those calls. County executive said they would make efforts to try to get a small, vaccination.
Yep.
I talked with Donna Lenhart, who's responsible, for this crafts fair, and she would like very much, so if we can put in an official request to have a table or something set up for people that haven't gotten vaccinated, would
Yep.
like to do we'll make that available with the county support.
So we're in a position now where we're doing pop-ups around Dutchess County for specific populations. Folks that would like to be vaccinated, there's plenty of opportunity. However, some individuals have difficulty accessing those opportunities. So through my day job, we're working with the County Executive's Office and the Department of Behavioral and Community Health to literally bring these vaccination sites right into our communities. And this would be an example of that. So if there's anybody watching or anybody present that's having difficulty getting vaccinated, feel free to speak to me. We can put you in contact with a link so you can get registered very easily. We're trying to make this as accessible as possible here in Dutchess County, but we do understand some folks are not computer savvy, and that can be a challenge. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments? I'll accept the motion to move in the executive session to discuss contract and personnel issues. But before I do, I want to thank everybody for coming out, today and attending the meeting, and there'll be other opportunities in the future as well. So thank you. Do we have a motion for executive session?
Let me just say one thing since you mentioned that. I also don't want to turn a blind eye to the many residents of Houstonville that have been participating not only in the planning board public hearing, but the community meeting that I hosted. I greatly appreciate all the public input, the emails, the phone calls, and it's really the definition of democracy, watching folks express their opinions and concerns. So I thank you for that. Thank you.
Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion that we
Okay.
go into executive session.
Is there a second? Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the meeting is, going into executive session, we'll come back later. Thank you, everyone.